Greetings. Hello, I have George Goodenough here from England. I'm John Laspina, the carnivore teacher, and we have another interview with an amazing gentleman who's going to share how the carnivore diet, low carb, has helped him in probably numerous amazing ways. So we'll just jump right into it. And George, can you introduce yourself, share a little bit about your life before starting the carnivore diet?
Yeah, okay. So my name's George Goodenough. I'm 59 years old. I live in the southwest of England, about 100, just over 100 miles from London. And I was a soldier for many years. I then became very unwell in my 40s and 50s. Didn't really understand it. I thought it might have something to do with my military service and all the vaccinations that I received in the first Gulf War. So I was really going down that route at the time. And yeah, I became morbidly obese at 293 pounds. I had type 2 diabetes, and I was basically a heart attack waiting to happen. Now, so my journey really started, I date it back to March the 1st of 2022, when I had a pretty disastrous set of bloods done in my old man's annual checkup, which revealed I was in fact type 2 diabetic with very high triglycerides. And I was probably a heart attack waiting to happen. So that is the start of my journey. However, I must also give a little bit about myself. I am a married man. My wife, Lainey, is a cancer sufferer. And for that reason, we are very good friends with our mutual friend, John, DC, Learning to Live. DC has been incredibly supportive of us over on this journey. Lainey, I gave her the nickname of Chief Inspector Lainey of the Carnivore Police on account of the fact that, as you know, our great friend, our great mutual friend, Larry Allhands, carnivore soldier, went off grid for a while. And I was really seriously worried about him. I think I actually consulted you about this. So Chief Inspector Lainey, I filed a missing carnivore report with Chief Inspector Lainey, and she very kindly tracked him down on Facebook. And Larry was gracious enough to let me know that he was very well. That was actually on September the 2nd last year, which was my 59th birthday. So that was a wonderful birthday present. As you know, I advised you that Larry had said that he wasn't coming back, and you very kindly jumped in on the Wednesday night slots because he used to do the hump day meetup, and you do Wednesday night school now, I believe it's called, which is, I can't, because of the time difference, I can't watch the lives. But I always, it's my first thing that I go to on a Thursday morning here in the UK. So it's been a great, you accompany me on my journey to work every Thursday morning. So yeah, so that's a brief history. That's my set of circumstances at the moment. So back to you, John, with your next question.
All right, that's great. I kind of stopped doing the Wednesday nights for a while because I'm doing the interviews now, but maybe I'll start up again. If since you said you're one of the listeners that catches the replays often, I don't want people to miss out. Let's see. What motivated you to try the carnivore diet in the very first place? Was it the type 2 diabetes in the bloods, or was it other things too?
Well, what happened was that when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, the doctor was very dismissive of me. I could virtually see the contempt in her eyes, and she was clearly blaming me for getting myself into this mess. She issued me 2 prescriptions. Metformin was one, I think probably a statin was the other. And she dismissed me from her office. And that was me. I thought, that's the end of the road for me. I was incredibly lucky. A very kind nurse called Kathy ambushed me as I was leaving the surgery and pulled me into her office, sat me down. And she said to me, "What do you eat?" So I said, "Well, I eat healthy. I don't eat sugar. I eat, I didn't say I eat carbs. I eat things like pasta and bread and the whole grains and the rice and all the good stuff, all the healthy stuff." And she just said to look me in the eye and just said, "George, all carbs are sugar." Huh? So yes, she said, starches turn to glucose in the bloodstream just as much as sucrose does, as much as anything else does. Okay. So that was the idea that got into my head, that the carbs are in fact bad for you. So I left her office, and the last words I said to her was, "We can do this." So I went away, I did the research. I didn't know about carnivore at that time. I had no idea about carnivore at that time. I didn't even know about YouTube at that time, to be perfectly honest with you. So my start point was a guy called Professor Roy Taylor. Have you heard of Professor Taylor? Right. So he is an expert in Newcastle University here in the UK, who was one of the pioneers, recent pioneers, in reversing type 2 diabetes. But he had a very low calorie approach. Basically, you consumed 800 calories a day for maybe 6 or 8 weeks, and diabetes would go. Now, it was a good start point, but unfortunately, obviously, as we know, the 800 calories is not sustainable. So there was a risk of it coming back. However, on Google, I was able to my great friend at work, Max Brownfit, told me about keto and about how keto is very healthy, and how he's known people have success on it in the past. So that was my first start point. I researched keto, and that was only on Google and on websites such as WebMD and Healthline and various others like that. But I was able to go low carb, fairly dirty keto for a while. And then within 5 months of dirty keto, I went back and had my bloods done again. And I was out of diabetes. Diabetes was reversed, because here in the UK, the levels are up to 41, you're okay. 42 to 48, you are pre-diabetic. 49 and above, you are diabetic. I was 50. In 5 months, I managed to reduce my HbA1c to 36. And that was only on dirty keto. It was not on carnivore. So in August of 22, I was reversed type 2 diabetes, put it into remission, in other words. Now, at the same time, I discovered YouTube, and I put in reversing type 2 diabetes, and I came up with the excellent Sarah Holberg video. Reversing type 2 diabetes starts with ignoring the guidelines. And that sent me down the rabbit hole of low carb, keto, etc., etc. And of course, because we're in the same space, then carnivore started appearing on the algorithm. Now, my first venture into a carnivore video was the excellent Dr. Ken Berry and Kelly Hogan. And the title of that is Woman Eats Only Meat for 13 Years and This Happens. It opened my eyes. The transformation that I saw in Kelly and her enthusiasm, and Dr. Berry's enthusiasm as well, of course, it kind of inspired me. It kind of put the idea in my head. But at the time, because I was doing so well on dirty keto, I didn't feel the need to go carnivore. So I carried on doing the research, and obviously from there I got to Dr. Anthony Chaffee, Dr. Sean Baker, all of our mainstream doctors, and the professors such as Tim Noakes and various other people. So gradually I built up my knowledge of carnivore, and I realized that it might not be such a bad idea really, but it took me another year to really go carnivore. So by August 2023, I was pretty much carnivore. And it was on the last week of August of 2023, when I made my first friend in the carnivore world, which is our great friend Larry, Carnivore Soldier, because obviously the name Carnivore Soldier, me being a veteran, it kind of resonated with me. So I reached out to Larry, and he was about to embark upon a series of videos called Mission Carnivore, and I was his first veteran he interviewed. So I was episode 1 of Mission Carnivore. At that time, I was dirty carnivore. I was eating wrong stuff, eating a lot of ham, sort of the deli meats, that sort of thing, a lot of chicken, and I was still eating onions because I liked onions with my barbecue and that sort of thing, and occasional avocado and olives. But the next morning, he gave a great feedback video. I think it was something like Dogma in the carnivore world. And he very subtly told me I was wrong. He said, George has had massive success, so how can I tell a man who's had success he was wrong? But it was a very subtle way of telling me that I was wrong. And it made me think. He kind of gave me the kick up the butt I needed to hone my skills, as he calls it. So I got rid of all the fiber, no more plant-based foods at all. I've gradually then transitioned away from some of the processed meats I was eating. So yeah, thanks very much for that, Larry. I really did appreciate it, what you did for me. So I can honestly say that probably September 23, I've been fiber free in terms of, fiber free in terms of what I consume plant wise. So yeah, so really, I suppose now we're talking over about 16 months of not eating any plants whatsoever, and I've obviously had the great benefits. Now, I liken my story, basically, I am a mirror image of Peter, Papa Carnivore, your friend. My story is virtually identical. In as much as I've lost 100 pounds, I totally reversed type 2 diabetes to the point where the NHS now says that I am cured because I've had 3 excellent HbA1c tests and I'm no longer considered diabetic. I'm off the diabetic list. My triglycerides in UK terms have reduced from 4.3, which is high to dangerously high, to 1, which is pretty much as low as you can get. So yeah, my metabolic health has been totally turned around by this process of low carb, then keto, then dirty carnivore, and now pretty clean carnivore, to be perfectly honest with you. But there's a couple of things there's a couple of disclaimers, full disclosure here. Firstly, I never intended to go carnivore. I've always been a very social person, which involves alcohol. Now, controversially, I still do drink alcohol, but I always admit to this. And I always put the disclaimer in that the best way to optimal health is to give up the alcohol. There's no question about it because it is a toxin. However, it doesn't appear to have stopped me from reaping the benefits of carnivore. Because when I had my latest bloods, I went in with Nurse Abby, and she told me that I was the most spectacular success story in reversing and curing type 2 diabetes that she had ever known. We went through the blood tests and they were just about perfect. And she skipped over the liver function test because usually when you get to the liver function test, you get the inevitable question, how much alcohol do you drink a week? She didn't ask. So I had to ask her, I said, Abby, aren't you going to ask me about alcohol? She said, well, don't need to because obviously you're a non-drinker because you've got the perfect liver function test. So I said, well, actually, no, I'm in your terms, I'm a heavy drinker. So I drink a lot of very dry white wine called Soave. It's a very specific thing that I drink. It's an Italian white wine. I think you're Italian heritage, John? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's an Italian white wine. Now I don't drink anything that's dark, any of the fortified wines, because they've got a lot of sugar in them. I certainly wouldn't ever dream of putting a mixer in like Coca-Cola or orange juice. So it's a very low carbohydrate, very acidic dry white wine. So that is just full disclosure. And I also consume quite a lot of coffee as well. But again, I must stress that I did not have this sudden epiphany where I'm going to go full-blown carnivore and everything's got to go. I've kind of found my way here gradually, and I've achieved such amazing results that clearly the alcohol, the way I drink it, is not having too deleterious effect on my body. So yeah, if the strict carnivores out there say, well, George isn't really a carnivore, fine, but I am fiber free, and I am very low carb, and I've achieved the results that I set out to achieve back in March of 2022.
That is fantastic. And I think your journey is very similar to mine, Peter's, many other people, where we're not intending to go carnivore, right off the bat. We don't even know what it is. We're in the learning stages, and we saw a video or it led us down a rabbit hole. That's how I did it as well. I started out ketogenic, which I didn't even know what that was 6 years ago. And little by little, one thing led to another. I took something else out. I tried something else. And your journey sounds unique to you because you are the only person who is you. So nobody can do exactly the same thing, but you found out what worked for you. Larry does things what works for him. He's a soldier. So he jumps right in, takes everything out right away. And that some people are wired that way and it works for them and they push through the hard spots. For people, they, after 6 days, they give up of the withdrawal of the sugar and the electrolyte imbalances, sometimes say, oh, forget this diet. It hurts too much. It's causing too many problems. So but you did it in a very similar way. You do sound a lot like Peter, who I just recently interviewed.
I saw it.
Yeah, alcohol wise, I have some friends who drink the vodka, gin. They drink the clear liquors without mixers, and that has zero carbs, and they have one or two a day. And like you, it does not affect them. They're fine. I understand the mind content that I don't know specifically. Your specific one doesn't. I don't know. And one,
John, you're
find
breaking
out
up.
what.
You're breaking up a
Oh,
little bit.
I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. I don't know why that happened. The quantity. I mean, you find out what works for you, and if it's working, you can't tell somebody else they can't do certain things because whatever works for you doesn't work for them. So I congratulate you on your success. Obviously, it's working. My next question for you is, when you started doing this, and here you are now, what are some of the other benefits other than reversing type 2 diabetes? What are some other health and mental benefits that you experience?
Yeah, clearly I had the brain fog. I wasn't really thinking very clearly. That's gone now, and I've got the cognitive function back. That's quite an important one. Also, 10 years ago, I suppose, or in fact, 2011, 2012, I lost a year of my life to chronic, really bad depression when I was diagnosed with it and was actually put on Prozac for quite some time. So I had to fight back and get back into the workplace, but I wasn't happy. I was ill. I was just really existing. I wasn't living. So I've now got my enthusiasm back, which is why I do all these interviews. I've got the energy to do these interviews. My story's been told several times to Larry, to DC, to Dave Mack 3 times, to Carl at the Primal Lifestyle. So yeah, I've got all the usual suspects. And I just think, that I don't care how many times I repeat this message on account of the fact that we need to get the message out there, John. And just by repetition, sometimes can be the best way of doing it, because obviously you will have a slightly different set of subscribers to all of the above. So more new people will see it. Right, other health benefits. I can walk again. I was that fat and inflamed that even at work, they had to build an extra step to help me to get into my office, which was absolutely crazy. And I could barely walk. It was just getting from the car to the office and, just functional, nothing more than that. I'm back. I'm now walking. I was walking 3.5 miles a day to work and back. But unfortunately, I lost that job last week and I had to start a new one tomorrow. I've got to drive the car, but it will still be active. But the fact of the matter is I am walking again. And I did an excellent walk up a hill, quite a significant hill, very steep, over Christmas with my carnival friend, Ziggy, who has the Carnival Campers channel. She's not been very busy recently, but she is out there. And I had no problems in climbing the hill or coming down the hill. The only problem I encountered, because my knees are still a bit stiff, they haven't fully come back yet. So we had to climb a 5-bar steel gate. And I could not get I managed to get my left leg over, but I could not raise my right leg over the bar. Ziggy was absolutely rocking with laughter as I was trying to do it. In the end, she managed to calm herself down enough to grab my trouser leg by the ankle and drag that ankle over. So yeah, thanks very much to Ziggy for that. It was, without her, I'd have been stuck. So yeah, that's another benefit. But other ones as well. Migraines. During that depression time, I had regular migraines, which I had to treat with a Stimatoprane, a very powerful painkiller. They've all gone. I also had temporomandibular jaw dysfunction, which is a kind of clicking of the jaw, and it's quite painful. That's completely gone. Also, I think Peter actually mentioned about the clicking joints. I used to sound like a machine gun going off when I got out of bed or when I got out of the chair. My joints were just clicking all the time. Just silence. Now there is no more clicking. It's incredible, really. It's one of those really weird ones. Charlie horse. the pain between the ribs, the cramp between the ribs. I used to suffer from it terribly. If I twisted awkwardly, trying to take my clothes off, I would get spontaneous Charlie horse. Not only that, but I mean, obviously with the morbid obesity as well, I had trouble dressing myself even. I had to sit down to get dressed. I had to sit down and put my shoes on. That's all gone. I can hop around the bedroom now and trying to get my socks on and the trousers on and everything else. And it's a total transformation. Skin infections. I used to suffer terribly from boils. Wherever skin was on skin, I would get really big, painful, inflamed boils, which would burst messily and was very unpleasant. Athlete's foot and other fungal conditions on the body. I suffered terribly from athlete's foot. Gone. Jock itch as well, and also the one under the armpit. At the end of 2020, at the end of that year, I suffered terribly with the one under the armpits, the fungal infection it's called tinea, I think, tinea corporis. And the amount of money I was spending each week on medications and creams was frightening. It really was. But again, it's just completely gone. Yeah, there's probably some stuff I've missed there, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think that's a pretty good list to
Wow.
To be going with.
Amazing. That's an amazing list, which I'm going to repeat at the end of the episode, like I did with Peter's, because people need to hear that it's not. People often think it's just I want to lose weight, and that's a side effect. That's an afterthought. It becomes an afterthought compared to all these other amazing things that happen to us. But your weight, yours and Peter's weight was a lot of weight, and the weight caused issues like getting dressed. I remembered how easy it was. I didn't have that much to lose, but just bending down to tie my sneakers, and I noticed how much more flexible I was, how much easier it was. And of course, I had to buy new clothes. That's one of the negative side effects. You've got to spend some money and refresh your wardrobe. My next question for you here is, let's see, what tips would you give to someone struggling when they're in the adaptation phase? They start this and they start noticing maybe they're getting diarrhea or they're getting the keto flu symptoms or anything. What would you tell somebody who's just starting out and they hear your success?
Yeah, as I said, I didn't set out to go carnivore. So for me, it was a gradual process of elimination. I was still eating citrus fruits, that sort of thing, oranges, because they're supposed to be good for you, aren't they? Apples. I was still eating the cruciferous vegetables. So gradually, as I learnt more and more, I managed to eliminate the fruits first, and then the potatoes had gone anyway. All the starches had gone. So yeah, I would say the first thing to do is basically get rid of the starchy foods, get rid of the rice, the pasta, the potatoes, the bread, the pizza. But you can keep in things like avocados, olives, the cruciferous vegetables, and that might help you in the transitioning phase. Now, the reason I would not go back to those now is not because of carbohydrates and such, because they are carb, but it's because of fiber. Fiber is the enemy of the gut. It really is. I think it was probably Dr. Zoe Harcum, the legendary PhD over here, and she did a talk called "What About Fiber?" And she explained that fiber is just a subset of carbohydrates. It's indigestible, it's a gut irritant, and it's an anti-nutrient because it stops the enzymes, the good enzymes, getting to the meat, which is what actually heals people. Now, we also have this excellent chap over here called Kent Carnivore. His real name is Lee Copus. He's a friend of mine. And he lost his colon to fiber. He now has to have an ostomy bag. And he basically, when he had his ostomy bag, he was continuing eating vegetables, and he found massive problems with digestion. And the vegetables themselves would actually appear in his ostomy bag as they went into his mouth. Exactly. Since he's gone carnivore, he's discovered that meat is digested in the stomach, and it is absorbed in the small intestine. He never sees meat coming out into his ostomy bag. He only sees a clear digested liquid, and it has made his life so much better. So I can infer from this that basically vegetables are not digested in the stomach. they are not absorbed in the ileum or the small intestine. They have to go to the colon for fermentation. So literally, you have rotting vegetables in your colon, in your intestine. And it is that which makes the gas so smelly, because it's basically all emitting methane, which is from rotting vegetables. And it's also not what makes it so, such a lot of it, basically. And like every other carnivore, I find that my bowel movements now have A, become very easy, and B, a lot less, a lot fewer. I think Dr. Berry's got an excellent video out there called Carnivore Poop or something along those lines, with a sort of too much information warning at the beginning of it. But as we know, as carnivores, we are not afraid to talk about our bodily functions, because it's how we get the message out there that you can improve your health on carnivore. Of course, that's the other thing I didn't mention earlier, that my gut health is now massively improved. I used to suffer terribly from constipation, straining on the toilet, from bloating, and from gas. Now, the legacy that I have, that Lee has lost his colon. My legacy of eating fibre was a straining on the toilet, and I have a horrible inguinal hernia, which is about the size of a tennis ball, just sitting just to the right of my pubic bone. That's a friend for life, I'm afraid. But since I've lost the inflammation, it's more manageable. It's not quite so troublesome. It's not burning all the time. I'm still aware of it, and it's a pretty ugly sight, to be perfectly honest with you. But hey, at least I've still got my colon. Part of my colon is sticking through my muscular wall. But I'm in a much better position than poor Lee Copus, who actually lost his colon. So sometimes we have to count our blessings, don't we? It's, you know, we all came to this too late. We've all got legacy problems, but it's not too late to start again. It's never too late to start again. I think you and I are virtually exactly the same age, John. What's your date of birth?
I'm 50. I was born in July 16th in 1965.
Okay. I was born September the 2nd, 1965.
All right.
So yeah,
Wow.
we're pretty much close, aren't we?
Yeah,
So
when you
there we
said
go.
59 and my little hackle went up, I'm like, oh, 50 is my age. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so we're actually about 6 weeks apart age-wise. So
yeah, we are. Wow, amazing. Your list just grows as I'm writing this down. And I came to this as well too late. I came to this back when I was 53 years oldish. And had I known and came to this much earlier in my formative years, could you imagine how much healthier we'd both be? But again, it's never too late. It is absolutely never too late. Even somebody in their 90s or their 80s can benefit from this, certainly. So
yeah, it's one thing I want to say. Yeah, is you wish in one hand and you poop in the other, and see which one fills up first. But I do wish that I'd known about the carnivore when I was in the army, actually, for a specific reason, because I was a veteran of the first Gulf War, combat veteran of the first Gulf War, and I had a pretty major mental health problems when I got back from that. There's a few factors involved, but I had basically my life since then has been a series of major and minor nervous breakdowns. And I think that was probably my first one. And I got out of the army because I was so mentally ill, basically. I couldn't face it anymore. And I think had I been on carnivore at that time, I probably could have dealt with the mental strife of the Gulf War and the subsequent rather indifferent treatment that we received from the government, shall we say. So yeah, that's the time when carnivore would have been the most helpful to me. And certainly again, when I had the major nervous breakdown in 2011, 2012, I should just point out that the first Gulf War ended in 91, and I left the army in 93 because I could no longer handle it. I was beginning to struggle with fitness and health. I was putting on weight then, because I've always been a fatty. I know that you guys often say, oh yeah, well, when we were kids, there was no fat kids in school. I'll tell you what, John, I was that fat kid. I was obese from birth. I was actually a 9.5 pound baby, which is known as macrosomia. My mother was 41. I suspect she had gestational diabetes. I had to be born by C-section. So as Zoe Harkin would say, I didn't get all the beneficial flora from the vaginal canal birth. And I was obese really from the time I came out of the womb. And I was always the fatty in school. It was a pretty horrible experience. My nickname was Whale because I was that blubbery. I know kids are cool, aren't they, John? You know, because you're a teacher.
Oh, I know that very well,
Yeah.
and they were cool
So
too.
yeah, it was really at the age of 17 when it's an important transitional life in a stage in a boy's life as he becomes a man. And I actually realised that the fit guys were getting quite a lot of the attention from the girls, if you know what I mean. So it was I realised I probably never would. So I actually went on the 5-2 diet before it was apparently before it was invented. It was actually my brother invented it for me. So Mondays and Tuesdays I would fast, and then I would eat low calorie really for the remainder of the week. And I was doing a lot of exercise. I was cycling, running. When I embarked on that, I was 17 years old and weighed in 14 stone. I'm trying to think what that is in. It's basically 14 times 14, whatever that is. There's 14 pounds to a stone. So I did the 5-2 diet for a few months. I lost 2 stone, which is 28 pounds. Became fit and lean. And yeah, that was the first diet attempt, and it worked because what I wanted was a bit of attention, and I was able to get that then. So that was that normalized my life in many ways. And then at the age of 19, I joined the army, and of course the physical regime of the army keeps you fit, and certainly in basic training, boot camp as you guys call it. But by the time I came back from the war, and I was eating the typical military diet, which is full of starch, I really started putting the weight on. I started struggling to to achieve my my fitness goals because you actually do get tested properly every year, and I actually failed one. I managed to turn it around just before I left, but only just. I mean, back in the day, I was beating the target times by 2 minutes. I think I managed to beat my final target time by about 20 seconds. So yeah, I was pretty downhearted about the army, so I left. And that's, if I'd been a carnivore, I think I probably would have carried on and done my full service term, but I didn't. So there we go. So yeah, I wish I had known about carnivore younger. But hey,
mental health
again,
was a big improvement.
Very much so. Yeah. Now I'm coping very well with life. I've got a good job within the construction industry.
Mm-hmm.
I also do a lot of carnivore work as well, behind the scenes a lot of the time. I have just started my own channel actually, but I'm such a techno idiot that all I can do is one-off recorded monologues. But I'm quite good at talking, so so I am out there. But because of the upheaval in my life at the moment, having suddenly lost my job last week and having to get another one, which I'll start tomorrow, then I haven't been very productive just for the last week. But I will go back to it.
All right.
Yeah, I think probably my proudest one was the 3 pillars of carnivore, which I'd like to address now. Which again, this is somebody who would like to start.
Let's do that. Let's go into the 3. What are your 3 pillars of carnivore? My
3 pillars of carnivore is have a strong why. Dr. Lisa Wiedemann calls it the why that makes you cry. I was very ill. People were dying in their 50s and 60s all around me. Remember the key date of the 1st of March 2022. On Christmas Day of 2021, a very good friend of mine, who was only 69, dropped dead of a heart attack. He was an ex-Royal Marine, so he was very fit in his youth, but he put on a lot of weight. He was found dead in his house on Christmas Day of 2021. Then in January of 2022, virtually sort of to the day now in January, a very good friend of mine, Tommy, dropped dead of a heart attack. He was going to work, he got to the bottom of the stairs and dropped dead, literally. He was, when I knew him first back in 2006, he was very fit, very lean, but he put on an awful lot of weight. And I think one of his main problems were those horrible energy drinks. You know the ones I mean? He was kind of addicted to those. And it showed.
They have tons of caffeine in them and other supposedly stimulants.
Exactly, that's right, yeah. Interestingly enough, in 2018, I was working on a building site and the guy on there was addicted to them as well. Mm-hmm. And he actually went so start staring mad that they had to take him away and they had to put him in, they had to what they call section him, which meant he had to be He wasn't deemed to have capacity and had to go and recover in a care home, basically. So yeah, 2 cases of those horrible energy drinks. So yeah, so my friend Colin, the Marine, had died. Tommy had died, and I realised that I was probably a heart attack waiting to happen. So I had very strong why. And since that time, I've lost about another 8 people in their 50s and 60s, including Karate Chris. He was known as Karate Chris because he was a karate black belt. But in his 50s, he suddenly deteriorated and put on a lot of weight. And I used to see him occasionally around town. He was on a walking stick. I could barely walk. And we used to laugh and joke about the fact that we were so much fitter and younger back in the day. Unfortunately, Chris didn't make it. He died at the age of 63 of a heart attack. My friend from school, Dave, he was a type 1 diabetic. His mother was a doctor, so he was a massive believer in pharmaceuticals as the solution. And then he lost his toes. And then one morning, he simply didn't wake up. He was dead at the age of 57. So think about the ages I'm talking about here. Think about those ages. And then my mate Bungle died in 22, July 22, in his early 50s. Again, dropped dead of a heart attack. So yeah, I have a very strong why, because I've seen what it can do. I understand what the standard American diet, which we will call it, because we follow pretty much the same pattern here in the UK with McDonald's, KFC, etc., Domino's Pizza. I've seen what it can do, and I won't be going back to it anytime, ever. It's as simple as that, really. So yeah, folks, if you're watching this and thinking about going, get a strong why. Think about the people you know that are seriously ill. Think about the people you know that have died of cancer, for example, and heart attacks and diabetes early, and that will give you a strong why. So that's the first pillar of Carnivore. The second pillar of Carnivore that I talk about is the research. Research. I have done many thousands of hours of research since March the 1st, 2022, and it has brought me here. YouTube is, I would say, is the go-to now. Go and find the YouTube doctors. The YouTube doctors are numerous. My most recent addition to my doctor stable is Dr. Robert Kiltz. I didn't really follow Kiltsy too much, but I've just discovered him just recently. And yeah, so research him. He's incredibly good. Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Sean Baker. They're the big 3. Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Lisa Wiedemann, Kelly Hogan as well. Well, she's not a doctor. She's very, very good. And also all the carnivore influencers out there, such as yourself, such as Carnivore Soldier. Who else? Oh, DC Learning to Live, Nia's Way. You and I move very much in the same circles, actually, John. You've probably been aware of my name for a while now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's good. It's great to have those people. Now, one thing I will say is, because I've done the many thousand hours of research in the past, I've moved, and I've got so many friends in the YouTube carnivore community now that I kind of said thank you and goodbye to many of the doctors, because I haven't got enough hours in the day. So what I tend to do now is follow personalities such as yourself. But of course, we tell our stories. So we've done the research. So now it's up to us to actually be the teacher, to actually sort of spread the word. Although of course we are not doctors, so please nobody sort of take our advice as medical advice. It's just what we've actually learned. So yeah, so research, and research with an open mind as well, because you hear some things you don't like, some things that you cannot understand. For example, that fibre is bad for you, that vegetables are bad for you. You just got to believe the people. Go to Dave Mack, watch all of his anecdotal evidence, and gradually you will become convinced. It took me a long time, but I'm now fully on board with carnivore. Third pillar is community. This is vital. Back in August 2023, I was very much a lone carnivore. I didn't know anybody else out there who was on it. I knew that there were carnivore people out there, but they were just faces on YouTube to me. It was when Larry started his channel that I actually reached out to him on email, and we became firm friends. He's been greatly supportive of me. I had a bit of a minor nervous breakdown back in November, surrounding the Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday, Armed Forces, Veterans Day, I think you call it, November the 11th. And I reached out to Larry, and he very kindly sent me a very supportive email, which helped me get myself back on track. So yeah, so that was Larry. And then, so he was my friend in the carnivore world, and I had a friend out there. And then, oddly enough, I saw the young lady called Lauren Tucker, the young blonde lady from, do you know who Lauren is?
I don't, maybe if I see her face, but the name's not ringing.
I think you probably would do, because she's part of the Healing Humanity film.
Oh, I probably
she is one of the 3 English people that.
Okay.
Yeah, they are English. That Kerry came over to interview back in December. Mm-hmm. Now Lauren lives not very far away from me, and I discovered that she was she was contactable by email. So when I saw her on Dave Mack, I reached out to her as well. And she said, "Wow, that's great, because I've got no carnivore friends. I'm a lonely carnivore myself." She's not anymore, nor mine. But she did have a little WhatsApp group going, and she very kindly put me onto that WhatsApp group. So I then had another further 3 friends, I think, in carnivore, and then very cleverly back in 23, a bigger carnivore group approached us, or she approached them, and we merged. We're now known as Just Carnivores. We were all from 2023 vintage, if you like, when we all found each other. And that carnivore group is still going now. It's fairly small, but I'm proud to say that I'm very privileged to be part of it, and it is a very select group. It has Lee Copus, the man who lost his stoma. It's got Alex Carnivore for Life, who is known as who's going aging in reverse. He's at the age of 66. He's now a pensioner, but he's still a very active swim teacher. And I think Kerry asked Dr. Berry to estimate his age based on his photograph, and Dr. Berry said 35. He's in fact 66. So, yeah, so I've got Lauren on there. She's a bit of a carnivore superstar, Lee Copus, Alex. We've also got a couple of smaller channels, such as Carl, the Primal Lifestyle, and Sarah, Healthy Carnivore UK. We also have 2 guests from America, one being Larry himself. I think I probably introduced him to the channel. And the second one, really, we like to keep the channel manageable, because obviously we've got about 10 people on there, so it's not pinging all the time. It's just when we want to get carnivore messages out there. So we kind of kept it a bit select, but we had a bit of a request via Alex the other day. Could somebody else join the carnivore WhatsApp from America? Okay, fair enough. Well, we're a bit sort of insular. He said, "Who is it?" Oh, it's Kerry Mann. So yeah, nobody says no to Kerry, do they? So yeah, Kerry's now on a WhatsApp group as well. So I'm in the
superstars.
yeah. So I'm in the incredibly privileged position of actually being able to have direct contact with Kerry should I wish to do so. However, that is one privilege that I do not abuse, believe me, because I know that he's a very, very busy man. So yeah, so that's the third pillar of carnivore community. I've taken to call it my tribe recently, and you are now, having met you now, I definitely consider you part of my tribe. What I did before, when we were chasing each other around the all the panel shows, Nia's Way, DC Learning to Live, etc., etc. Yeah. DC is a personal friend of mine now, even though he's across the other side of the world from me. He's been incredibly helpful with Laney's cancer. Larry, have you come across a lady from California called Dawn? Her channel is Resting Witch Face.
Oh yes. If it's the same Dawn, we're thinking of New Dawn. No,
just Dawn. Dawn. She comes from the Big Bear area of California. She's 63 years old.
Oh no.
She is a herbalist, but she's a carnivore, which is a bit bizarre. Yeah. So she and I have now become incredibly good friends again, but she's in California, so we'll probably never meet. Having said that, we were sort of half joking about it last night. But yeah, she and I have an amazing story, because she only started carnivore, I think, in September, and she put out this video, which was essentially a clickbait, and she said, "Why do I hate capital letters carnivores?" And of course, the word carnivore triggered on my algorithm, so I went into that video thinking I was like Jesse James walking into a saloon with a gun on my head, ready for a gunfight. Dawn said, I don't hate carnivores. She said, I'm just jealous of carnivores. So they're all the happiest, healthiest looking people I've ever known. Yeah, so far from getting into a gunfight in that saloon, I came out with a new carnivore sister. She now calls herself my big sister because she's 63. I'm 59. I call her, she calls me the little brother. That's what she calls me on her channel sometimes, you know. It's and she's always, she calls me, if carnivore had been about, sorry, carb addiction had been about alcohol addiction, she said, I would have joined the AA and George would have been my sponsor, because basically I've helped her through from that first day that I met her, and I've now watched her go. She made some horrendous mistakes on the way, which I had to reach out to her and say, don't do this, Dawn. But she's come through now, and she completed her what I call the 90-day boot camp, probably September, October, November time. And now in January, she's still a relatively newbie carnivore, but she's influencing people incredibly. I managed to get together the Dave Mack interview, her first Dave Mack interview. I put them together. I put her and DC together. I put her and Carl at Prime and Lifestyle together. And her own channel now has 870 odd subscribers, many of whom are new, many of whom are new to carnivore. So she is become, in the space of 5 or 6 months, has become an amazing carnivore influencer. And she is such a lovely lady. It's unbelievable. As I said, my big sis in the carnivore world now. So yeah, again, community is absolutely amazing. It really is. And she's, yeah, Carl at Prime and Lifestyle, we did the occasional light-hearted panel show, and with Healthy Carnivore UK Sarah, and now Dawn joins our panels from California as well. So we have 3 UK YouTubers on there plus Dawn, and we have a laugh. You know, carnivore is fun. We make jokes about each other. We laugh at each other's content. We just, yeah, it's just great fun. It really is. It's just enjoyable having chats like this. You can still put a smile on my face. I'm really, really enjoying it. And it's wonderful to actually meet you as well, John, for the first time, even though we've been aware of each other for a while.
It's great to meet you too. And we are happier. I hear stories about the vegans and how they're angry and hungry and they're rude and disrespectful. And we just get along. Larry has been an amazing support for me. He helped me when I lost my channel by accident. He regained a lot of his subscribers. He encouraged it. He pushed it. I got to meet him in person in Austin, Texas.
I know that story. I know that story. I know that story, John. He was driving down the street and he saw you crossing the road. Yeah. Oh, there's John.
And what I did is his dog was out the rear window, and I saw Larry and got excited, but I went right up to the dog. I'm like, oh, I ignored Larry. This is a beautiful Great Dane, right?
Yeah, Duke, Larry's service dog. Duke, yeah, absolutely.
Because I got to meet his family too. I met his sister. I met her brother-in-law. I learned about the brothers and the father, and it was just in a real quick space of time. Our community, like you said, community, the third pillar, going over 3 pillars, strong why, research like crazy, have an open mind, and it is vital to have community, and that is powerful and strong, which is why I try to go to some of these events and I meet people and stay online. That is also very strong, because you could do carnivore and then do it by yourself and be isolated, and then all of the standard world food is just everywhere, and it's easy to just fall back into eating the way you ate most of your life. But having a strong community constantly reinforces
exactly
why we're doing this.
Yeah. So just to go back to Hack Your Health again, Larry kindly sent me some of his favorite photographs in there, and one of the ones I've got on my phone now is you and Larry at Hack Your Health. And just another shout out to another carnivore, wonderful carnivore, American. She's currently living in Texas, but apparently is moving states fairly shortly. And that is Lynn Tucker Carnivore and her husband, Ribeye Ranger. She is part of the Healing Humanity team. She has been incredibly supportive of me, both on my channel. She subscribes to my channel, and wherever I'm on email as well. I've got Lynn on email. She's just amazing. She works tirelessly for Healing Humanity, and she has told me that the Healing Humanity will continue with a series after the actual film itself. I was listening to Kerry talk about it this morning. They will be addressing things like skin conditions. Each episode will focus on one particular thing, and she has forwarded my name to Kerry for the type 2 diabetes episode, because, as I said, the British National Health Service regard mine as one of the most spectacular success stories they've ever known. I'm not allowed to tell it because it goes against everything that they actually believe in. I tried telling it to a doctor at a conference. I got invited, unbelievably, but because one of the nurses who does veterans health knows my story, she invited me to a professional conference so that I could talk to people. I wasn't allowed to go on stage and tell people. I could mix with people and tell them. And I showed one doctor my before and after photos, which I'll probably send to you after this. And he said, "Oh, Ozempic." I said, "No, carnivore." "What? What do you mean carnivore?" I said, "I eat only meat." And I explained to him about our community and about the incredible success stories that we have out there, the anecdotal success stories. And he basically said to me, he said, "I'll go away and have a look at this, but I won't be able to do anything with it because I'll be struck off." So, yeah, exactly. So it's very, very frustrating to say the least. But anyway, that's why we've got to get the message out there, because the doctors won't do it for us, apart from the brave ones such as Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Sean Baker and people like that, who've actually gone against their received wisdom, their education, their miseducation, shall we call it. Actually, I told this doctor that he was about Ansel Keys, and I told him that he was contractually obliged to perpetrate the lie. And he sort of he didn't really have an answer to that, to be perfectly honest with you. So he didn't even know about the 7-nation study. I had to enlighten him about the 7-nation study. He'd certainly never heard of the Minnesota coronary experiment. He'd never heard of the Bellevue study of 1920 with Wilhelm Stefansson and his, I can never remember his sidekick's name, Anderson, I think it was. Yeah, when they ate only meat for a year in a controlled study in Bellevue Hospital in New York, and they came out healthier than when they went in. So the doctors don't want to hear this. They just don't want to hear this.
Yeah, they can't sell it. They can't make any money off of this. And, Ozempic makes money, there's money in products. This is just eat right. Learn how to eat properly, educate yourself. So I have a final question I'd like to ask you. People often ask me, well, John, all right, you say you're a carnivore, or you went low carb when I first started. Well, what do you eat? What do you have for breakfast? What do you have for lunch? What do you have? How many meals a day do you have? Do you snack? So I ask all my interviewees the same question. What are you eating these days?
Right. Okay. So this is going to go controversial, but I'm going to refer to Dr. Robert Kiltz, who I was watching with Kerry this morning.
All right.
And he eats a lot of raw steak. Yeah. And so do I.
Oh.
I've gone pretty much not totally raw nowadays, for the simple reason I'm not allowed to eat raw at home because my wife likes to cook. She only cooks, well, we only eat premium meat, although she will have some of the low carb veg as well because she's more ketovore than carnivore. Again, she never intended to go carnivore, but thanks to DC and the cancer and Professor Seafried, she now understands glucose and glutamine. So she has massively reduced her glucose intake. She whinges like crazy about it. "Oh, I miss me cakes, I miss me that sort of thing." But no, she understands that it's important to limit the glucose to try and stop the horrible disease from coming back. Yeah. So right, work a day. I was walking to work. I've got to see what the new arrangements are at my new place. But I take 2 steaks a day with me. One 10-ounce lamb steak and one 8-ounce rump sirloin or ribeye steak, which I buy from Aldi, incidentally. I eat them straight out of the packet, raw, with pink Himalayan salt. And if I'm absolutely honest, I love the texture, but there's no flavour. So again, the carnivore police are going to come and arrest me. I do use a little bit of mustard just to give it flavour. But again, there's not enough to have any deleterious effect. Then when I get home in the evening, I'm usually hungry. I was hungry because I was walking home mile and 3/4. And again, on a Sunday, I'll go and buy a big packet of the cheaper bacon from Aldi. Lainey will roll that into sort of rolls and then air fry that, and then it will go in the fridge. So I can either reheat it in the microwave or I can just eat it raw out of the fridge. So basically, Monday to Friday, I'm eating lamb, steak, and bacon. And it doesn't get much cleaner than that. Bacon, arguably, not less so because it's a monogastric animal, but I'm eating, 10 ounces, 18 ounces of raw, ruminant, fatty meat. And I think I've seen an increase in health value for that. On a Friday night, we usually have a premium meat. It will be a roast, probably. Lamb. We've moved away from the pork now because of the monogastric factor. We did have a pork chop last night, but that was from the freezer from when we were still eating pork. Lamb and beef are our go-to. Also veal. We have a product in this country called rose veal, which is not like the cruel way of getting the white veal where they're not allowed to move. These surplus dairy calves, bull calves, they get a good 6-month life in natural pasture, and they produce this excellent tender and fatty rose veal. So anybody who's anti-veal, rose veal is very different from the white veal that when they're cruelly treated. We also like duck, fatty duck, a bird called guinea fowl, pheasant. Less so chicken nowadays because there's not really a premium special meat. We had a big turkey at Christmas. It took me about 9 days to demolish that, and then we turned the carcass into bone broth. Today I had a couple of foot-long sausages, which Lainey found the other day, checked the ingredients, and they were pretty clean. So that's been my breakfast today. This afternoon, Lainey will be air frying a large sirloin steak for me and a medium-sized ribeye for herself. She might have some cheese with it or some sides with it, whereas I will just have the large sirloin steak. That will be my food for the rest of today. So yeah, I found raw carnivore through the Carl the Primal Lifestyle. Back in May, I think he interviewed a chap called Jacob McAteer, the raw carnivore, who's 100% raw carnivore and a fine physical specimen. So that was what inspired me to experiment with it, and I gradually increased it to the point now where if I was living by myself, I would probably be 100% raw carnivore. But I've got to respect the fact that Lady still likes to cook and likes to eat the raw meat as well. Sorry, the cooked meat as well, the premium cooked meat. So yeah, that is maybe a surprising answer to your but
it's different for each person. That's why we wanted to hear. I wanted to let other people hear what people eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I want to share the list of ailments that you healed and the 3 pillars, and then we'll end our interview today. So weight loss, brain fog, type 2 diabetes, depression. You can now walk again. You couldn't walk. Migraines, joint clicking of the jaw, joint clicking in general. Charley horses, trouble getting dressed because of the obesity, skin infections, boils, athlete's foot, jock itch, pit infections and itches, constipation, bloating, gas, hernia by straining, and mental breakdowns. And the 3 pillars, which I'm going to do a video on this and give you a shout out on the video, are the 3 pillars of a strong carnivore diet. And that is, find a strong why, do your research with an open mind, make sure that you educate yourself and just go down the rabbit holes and learn. And most importantly, it is vital to have community. Get connected with like-minded individuals, other carnivores. We can encourage one another, egg each other on to continue. And we are a happy bunch. We're a fun
when it comes to community, I've got a great little 3-word thing, and that is find your tribe.
Find your
tribe.
Because
we are the tribe.
Dr. Berry.
Yeah, because when I did that, the 3 pillars of carnivore, I said, yeah, it's important to find your tribe. And Larry actually watched that video, and he came back and he said, I'm so glad to be part of your tribe, George. So I think it's got a nice vibe to it.
It does.
In fact, there is. I think it was Dawn, my friend over in California, Resting Witch Face, by the way. She actually did a video about your vibe finds your tribe, and we send out a very strong vibe as carnivores, and that is how we find our tribe. So yeah, your vibe finds your tribe. So folks, go and find your tribe. Build your tribe. They're out there. We are out there.
George, this has been an honor. It's been a pleasure to actually get to talk with you, even though we've chatted for years now online. Tell us where we can find you now that you have your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm George Goodenough 823, I think is my name, but probably if you just put George Goodenough in, beware of the chap in Hollywood who's a scriptwriter, also called George Goodenough, which is a bit of a coincidence. But I think I'm George Goodenough 823, George.Goodenough 823 or something like that.
All right.
My closest, the people I work closest with, I've actually got a nickname in the carnivore world, and that's Puppet Master, because I didn't used to have my own channel, but I work very closely with Carl at the Primal Lifestyle. And I found a lot of interviews for him, found a lot of research information for him. So he says that I pull the strings behind the scenes for Carnivore. I put people together. I like to put Dawn and Dave Mack together.
Oh, right.
I put other people with Dave Mack as well. So yeah, my nickname is the Puppet Master behind the scene. Although you won't find that reference anywhere apart from Carl calling it to me. But so Carl is my closest associate. So I would, if you need to get hold of me, you'll always find me on Carl, the Primal Lifestyle. You'll always find me in the comments on Dawn Resting Witch Face, and you'll always find me in the comments on Sarah Healthy Carnivore UK. So those are the four panelists that I told you about that we work closest together. That they are the closest part of my tribe. And then obviously you'll occasionally see me on John's channel here, having a laugh with Rick Rodriguez sometimes. I just got to tell the joke because it's the one that made him laugh, because I think might have been your channel or somebody else's. He said, "Oh, I just eat duck, steak, and iguana."
Oh, it's Rick.
Yeah, Rick, exactly. Yeah, I think it might have been on your channel. So coincidentally, I had a duck that Sunday, and as you know, I eat steak every day. So I put, "Oh, hi, Rick," and I said, "You sound a bit like me." I said, "But I said, I had a duck on Sunday. I said, I eat steak every day. But the only problem is here in the UK, the last time I tried to catch an iguana, I got arrested by the police because the zookeeper reported me." Yeah, so he did laugh on that one. Yeah, but iguanas aren't exactly easy to come by here. They are very much a protected species in zoos.
Oh.
So, yeah, unfortunately, I won't be eating iguana anytime soon. So apologies to Rick, but I can't follow him down that route. But yeah, everybody loves Rick. How can you not love Rick?
Exactly.
Because he is such an eccentric,
unique eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's he started Carnivore as a protest. So yeah, again, anybody out there who doesn't know Rick's story, whenever John interviews him, Rick always tells his story again, and it's just hilarious. It really is.
And it's true. And he's been carnivore for so long.
41 years, I think now. 41 years, I think.
Yeah. Tells a lot.
That's amazing.
Well, George,
we've gone over the hour, Larry. Sorry, John. Yeah, we've gone over the hour. So, yeah, it's been a real pleasure. These interviews that I do, they always go past too quickly. I look up and I just can't believe how quickly.
Oh, I know that time flies because we're so engaged. I'm going to end it, but don't leave yet. I want to talk with you after the recording.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming, and have a great day, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.